Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I finished 5 eyeshadows. Nope. I finished 6 eyeshadows. Yes, you heard it right. I finished 6 eyeshadows, not 5. I just realized later on in the filming process, so forgive me. I'm so excited to share my progress with you guys. However, I have not finished the 5 eyeshadows that I had set my goals on. I finished one eyeshadow that is not included in there, and I have not finished one of the candidates. I'll get into all of that, but before we start, if you are new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. My name is Ravneet and I make a lot of panning videos. I mostly pan eyeshadows. That's where my heart is. You must have guessed from the title, this is the Pan That Palette or Pan Those Palettes update. So in this project, I'm trying to finish multiple eyeshadow palettes, and I'm doing this project in collaboration with fantastic ladies. So the theme that was chosen for this year for Pan That Palette is fun sized. So I rolled in a palette for that. And then I'm also doing Better Together. In Better Together collaboration, you can select eyeshadow palette that would go well with your bandit palette, or 2 eyeshadows palette that will work together. So I chose 2 eyeshadow palettes for that. If you are counting, that's 3 palettes, and then 4th palette is my last year's Pan That palette, which I quite did not finish last year, so I rolled it over into this year. And at start of this year, I had 19 eyeshadows to finish. 2 of those eyeshadows had great progress on them, so I was able to finish them quite early on in the project. And then I was left with 17 eyeshadows, which I was finishing 1 or 2 eyeshadows here and there. And last month I had such a great progress, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to finish 5 eyeshadows. So let's take a look at our very first eyeshadow palette, which is a rollover from last year. It's my e.l.f. Summer Breeze palette. Last time I showed you this palette, we had 4 eyeshadows left. So this is how it was looking like last month. And this is what it is looking like today. So we finished 2 eyeshadows from here, the mustard one and the brown one. I'm super excited and happy about that. We are super close to finish the pink one. Woohoo! Isn't that exciting? So let's go over the very first eyeshadow, which is this pink one. Since last update, I used it 12 times, and you can see it has moved a lot. And now it has come to a point where I need to repress it because I can't really pick it up with my blending brush. Even before that, I was pinching my blending brush to pick up the product from the edges. And moving on to the next eyeshadow, which is also our first empty, not from the palette, but for this update. That was our mustard one, and believe it or not, I only had to use it 2 more times in order to finish it. So last update when I showed it to you, I had repressed it already and there was very little product clinging to the edges, and I managed to use it in 2 uses. And in those 2 uses, I was wearing it all over my eyelids just in order to, get it done. And I also liked that color, so I wanted it to cover my entire eyelids. I of course put some shimmers on top, but that's our next empty. And our next empty again, which is this brown eyeshadow. So I wore it in my eyebrows, I wore it as an outer corner shade on my lower lash line. Loved this shade of brown. Was so neutral, wasn't leaning too warm or too cool. It was perfect, and I had to use it 4 more times to get it done. And that brings to our next eyeshadow in here, which is this black one. Let's take a closer look at this black eyeshadow. You can see it is very thin from this side. So last update, I raised some concerns about finishing this eyeshadow this year, but then I just set a reminder in my head to use it more in each eye look. So I was wearing it literally in almost all of the eye looks I did. Since last update, I used it 19 times. I was wearing it in my outer corners. I would bring it all the way to my center eyelid, and I used it as a base to build my looks on top. I am going to share a few looks later on in the video when I'll be showing you my Ice Baby palette, because I wore this eyeshadow and another eyeshadow that I finished. It was a dark gray sort of silvery shade, and I was wearing that kind of look almost every day. So I think if I continue wearing this black eyeshadow that way, I might be able to get it done, because this way I'm using quite a lot of the product. A lot of you guys suggested me to use it in some other ways, but I do love this eyeshadow. This is such a nice black. It is very impactful. It also blends very well. It's not patchy at all, and I really love this eyeshadow, so I want to use it just on my eyes. That's our very first eyeshadow palette. So let's set a goal for this eyeshadow palette. So my goal for this one is very obvious. I want to finish this one. I think after filming this video, I will repress this eyeshadow along with the other ones I'm going to show you in a moment. So yeah, I want to finish this one by next update. Now let's move on to our next eyeshadow palette, which is this Essence Ice Ice Baby palette. I wanted to finish 2 eyeshadows from here, and I only managed to finish one. Let's go over this one. This is how it was looking like last month, and I wanted to finish Vanilla Ice, which is that last eyeshadow in the first row, and Too Cold, which is the first eyeshadow in the second row, and this is how it's looking like today. So we managed to finish Too Cold, but we're not quite there yet with Vanilla Ice. However, there is very little product, and only product that's remaining is very thin. It's also on the edges, so this is definitely going to be an empty by next update. Let's go over uses for all of these eyeshadows. So the first eyeshadow called VIP, I used it 8 times, and you can see I've expanded pan a lot. And then this was finished few updates ago, and this one I managed to use it 8 times again. 8 uses have definitely expanded the pan on this one, and this one I used a lot. So I used it 10 times, and whenever I was using it, I used a lot of this eyeshadow. I was wearing it all over my eyelid. It wasn't as impactful if I just wear it as is, but if I wore it on top of a glitter glue, it was phenomenal. Having glitter glue as a base definitely brought up all the sparkles that we had in here, and we managed to finish it. So this eyeshadow called I'll Glow, I used it 10 times. I mostly use my shimmers with fingers, so that's why it has kind of moved towards the center, because I'm trying to get product this way. 10 uses on this one. Moving on to the last one, which is Collaborate and Listen. I managed to use it 9 times, and we expanded pan quite a lot. Let's take a closer look on this palette again so you can see how thin the eyeshadows are in here. I want to repress almost all 3 mattes in here, and let's talk about goals for this one. I think I would really want to finish both of these eyeshadows by next update. Yes, let's set that as a goal. If you have been following my Pan Those Palettes updates, you would know that my overall goal for all of my eyeshadows in this project is to use them at least 5 times each every month. This is where we are at with this palette. Now let's take a look at some of the looks I did with Too Cold and my black eyeshadow from here. Of course, I paired other eyeshadows in those looks. Now let's take a look at our Bronze This Way palette. So we had 2 eyeshadows remaining in here, and this is how it was looking like last month. And now it is looking like this. I did end up finishing this eyeshadow called Perfect Babe. This was one of my favorite eyeshadows and I really did not want to finish it, but then I just ended up going with it. And it took me 5 more uses since last update to get it all done. This is all empty. Look at all of that shiny pan. And this pan has expanded a lot as well. This eyeshadow is called Love Yourself. And since last update, I used it 10 times. It's also very thin in the pan, and while I am at repressing the other eyeshadows, I might as well just repress this one as well. So yeah, 10 uses here and 5 uses to get this one done. My goal for this palette is just to reach for this eyeshadow at least 5 times and repress it, of course. I'm not quite ready yet to focus on this eyeshadow. So yeah, as long as we're making progress on this one, I'm happy. Now let's move on to our last eyeshadow palette, and we finished 2 eyeshadows from here. Wait, I think I finished 6 eyeshadows, not 5. Yes, I finished 6 eyeshadows. So I finished 2 from here, 1 from here, another one from here, and 2 from Walking on Eggshells. So this is what this palette was looking like last month. It's from Wet n Wild. It's their Walking on Eggshells quad. This is how it's looking like today. I managed to use up Pro Bone shade and the transition shade. So yeah, we have 6 eyeshadows empty. I'm so silly. I'm counting 5 eyeshadows, but I finished 6. So transition shade, I used it 6 more times to get it all done. And then Brow Bone eyeshadow, there wasn't a lot of it left, so I used it 4 more times to get it all used up. And then I moved over using this eyelid shade and I used it 17 times. You can see it has tremendous pan expansion simply because I am using it the same way I was using Brow Bone eyeshadow. It looks pink, but it's very shimmery. It doesn't have a lot of base color. I'm wearing it as my inner corner eyeshadows today, and I also wear it as a Brow Bone sort of shade, and sometimes I also wear it all over my eyelid as a lid shade. So yeah, all of these eyeshadows are moving super well, and I don't have any goal for this one because I know I will be reaching for this one either way. And instead of hitting side pan, I'll focus on thinning out the entire sides because product on the top side, it's very thin again. So instead of focusing on hitting a side pan, I'll try to wear down all sides evenly because then finishing it would be more satisfactory. I think that's how my brain is working right now. Again, I had a thought of repressing all of these eyeshadows into a single palette, but I don't want to do that because seeing an eyeshadow palette getting done from start to finish is very satisfactory. If I put this eyeshadow someplace else, in my mind I would see this as an empty palette, but I would know that this is not quite empty yet. So yeah, finishing last bit of eyeshadow left in here, it's going to bring me so much joy. I know that, and that's why I'm keeping all of these eyeshadows in their respective palette, even though it's quite a hassle for me to reach for these eyeshadows in separate palettes. It would be more convenient if I repress them in a single palette, but I don't mind it, to be honest, and I think I would keep them the way it is. Any eyeshadows that I'm repressing, I will be repressing them in the same pan that they are in right now. So yeah, that's what my update is. Let's go over our goals real quick. So for e.l.f. Summer Breeze, I want to finish this pink eyeshadow. For Essence Ice Ice Baby, I want to finish 2 eyeshadows in here, Vanilla Ice and Collaborate and Listen. For these 2 palettes, I just want to continue using these eyeshadows the way I'm using them right now. And that's all I have for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. I hope you have a wonderful day or night, depending on when you're watching my video. Wherever in the world you are, I'll see you in my next one. Until then, take care. Bye.